What's going on, guys? Today I wanted to bring you another one of my 2014 WCQ hat format deck profiles. The deck I wanted to show off today is Hieratic Ruler. I've had a few people request this deck, and honestly, I used to play this back in the day. It was a very fun deck. It's very enjoyable, and I know a lot of people love their Dragon Ruler decks, so I'm excited to show off this deck. So let's get started right away with this. The thing with Hieratics is they're based on getting tributed and then summoning vanilla dragon type monsters, so normal dragon type monsters. So that's kind of their gimmick, so it'll make a little more sense as we go on, but let's get started with the monsters. So to start off, we are playing 3 copies of Hieratic Dragon of Tefnuit. This one has the effect that if your opponent controls a monster and you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand, but it can't attack during the turn it was special summoned. And then when it's tributed, you special summon a normal dragon type monster from your deck or graveyard, but its attack and defense becomes 0. After that, we play 3 copies of Hieratic Dragon of Su. You can special summon this one from your hand by tributing a Hieratic monster, and then you tribute a Hieratic monster from your hand or field, and you can pop a back row on the field, which is really good. And then it also has the tribute effect, where if it's tributed, you summon a normal dragon type monster, but its attack and defense becomes 0. After that, we play 3 copies of Hieratic Dragon of H.A.T. This one's slightly different because it doesn't have that special summoning type effect, but it's sort of a starter. And what I mean by that is you can normal summon it without tributing, but its attack becomes 1,000. And then once per turn, you can target a face-up dragon type normal monster on the field, and the levels of all face-up Hieratic monsters you currently control become that same level. So it's a way to level manipulate. You'll see some of the normal dragons a little later on, and it might make a little more sense, but its main purpose is just because it has that effect to be able to normal summon it, which is really good. That can be used with your other Hieratics. And then it also has the effect that when it's tributed, you special summon a dragon. Then we play 1 copy of Hieratic Dragon of Nebthet. Nebthet has the special summoning requirement that you can tribute a Hieratic monster you control to special summon it, and then once per turn you can tribute a Hieratic monster, except itself, from your hand or face-up field to target a monster your opponent controls and destroy it. And then this one also has that normal Hieratic type effect. That's it for the Hieratic monsters. Next we play 2 copies of Labradorite Dragon. It's a vanilla tuner, level 6, so really important because a lot of your Hieratics are level 6s, which will come up later when we get into the extra deck. And some people will choose to play, I forget which other dragon it was. It's a non-tuner though, and they'll play it simply to have the option of a tuner and non-tuner, but I think it was Luster Dragon number 2. But the difference in tuner and non-tuner is kind of irrelevant in terms of Xyz plays and stuff, so most people just go with 2 of that. This also helps with when we get into the spell cards. After that, we also play 2 copies of Flamevel Guard. It being a level 1 tuner is important, as well as being a fire, because Blaster, the Dragon Ruler, is in this deck, which is really good. And again, just being a tuner monster is really good for those spell cards. After that, obviously, this is a ruler deck, so we are playing 1 of each ruler. If you don't know what these do, you should at this point. They have basically 3 different effects, all being able to special summon themselves by banishing dragons or their same attribute and/or their same attributes. Blaster can also discard it and a fire to pop a card. Tidal discards it and a water to send one. Tempest discards it and a wind to add a wind dragon, and Redox discards it and a earth to special summon a monster from your graveyard. And I believe it's an earth monster in your graveyard, to be exact on that one. And then they also have effects when they're banished, but in this deck you're hopefully not banishing these, because it's a little less of your banish reliant for this deck, and more so these are just good extenders. After that, we play one copy of Debris Dragon, being able to summon back one of your monsters with 500 or less attack in your graveyard. Its effects are negated, and it can only be used for a synchro monster, and it has to be a dragon synchro, but the other material can't be a level 4. Really irrelevant. A lot of times you're just bringing back some of your stuff like a Labradorite Dragon to then Xyz summon with, or Flamevel Guard to then make a synchro. One copy of Corseska just as another tuner dragon. Basically, if Tempest does get banished, you can add a wind dragon monster from deck to hand, and also for the spells, I guess I should just say at this point, Cards of Consonance is the card I was referring to, which is why we needed those tuner dragons. And a lot of times you don't want to be discarding the Debris Dragon, but Corseska is completely fine to discard, so that's why we're playing that. And then one copy of Red MD. Don't pay attention to the effect here. I believe I got my copy accidentally taken, or I just lost it, so I kind of just threw in the errated version. But during this time period, this card is unerrated, so you can special summon it by banishing a dragon monster you control, and then once per turn you can special summon a dragon monster from your hand or graveyard. During this time period, this is not once per turn, so say you synchro with this, or this card leaves the field and you bring it back, you can then summon again using its effect, so that is something to keep in mind. Next, this deck is a little bricky, and so to mitigate that, we are playing 3 copies of Max C as our hand trap. Also being Earth for Redox is nice, but you do need a lot of draw power because opening the wrong combinations of cards can be kind of detrimental to being able to combo off. So 3 Max C is very standard in this deck. Moving on to the spells. 3 Upstart, again, just trying to get as much consistency as possible. 3 copies of Dragon Shrine. While this deck isn't super graveyard reliant, sometimes just taking out some of those vanilla monsters and getting your dragon rulers into grave is very important, whereas Mythic rulers usually have things like White Stone to be able to get an extra add on top of it. This deck just wants to clear out its deck, so you're always just drawing those Hieratics and combo pieces. 3 copies of Soul Charge, no explanation needed there, it's a dragon deck. 2 copies of Hieratic Seal of Convocation. This card was at 2 during this time period, it's just Rhoda for your Hieratic monsters. And 2 copies of Cards of Consonance. A lot of builds will play 3 of this, but I think there's only 6 different targets you have, so it discards a Dragon Tuner with 1,000 or less attack, and you draw 2 cards. So, like I said, I think there's only about 6 targets in the deck in general for Cards of Consonance, and one of them is that Debris Dragon that you don't want to really be discarding for draw power. So I think 2 of this is completely fine, because there is a lot of opportunities where it's dead. So 2 is completely fine, especially with everything else you have in the deck. And lastly, we play 3 traps. I chose to play 3 Skill Drain. In my opinion, this is just the best trap card in terms of a floodgate that you can play that hits generically anything, and it's good going first or second. Some builds will play Vanity's Emptiness, and you can do that. I think it's better to side Vanities in most decks. I've talked about that in my other deck profiles. So just 3 Skill Drain. I think if I were to change the trap lineup, maybe throwing in a Torrential or a couple trap stuns and maybe dropping this to 2 is an option. But this is just what I play, and there are a lot of topping lists that just play Skill Drain as their only trap. So that's what I'm doing as well. Moving on to the extra deck, we play 2 copies of Dracosac, obviously the Dragon Rulers and Dracosac just being a very good card. 2 copies of Gaia the Thunder Charger. This card's really important, being able to stack on top of your Xyz and also doing piercing damage. When I get to the Hieratic Xyz, the turn the Hieratic Xyz uses its effect, it can't attack. So usually you will use the effect and then slap this on top of it to be able to push for damage. The last 7 is 1 copy of Big Eye. Obviously, it always is paired in your rank 7 packages. For the 6s, we play 1 M7, being able to bounce monsters on either field or graveyard to the hand, and 1 copy of Photon Strike Bouncer, being able to negate a monster's effect and inflict 1,000 damage. Unfortunately, it doesn't destroy the monster that it negates, but it has 2,700 attack, and being able to negate those effects is very important. And then the last Xyz is 2 copies of Hieratic Dragon King of Atum. It requires 2 dragon monsters, level 6, to make, and once per turn, it's a soft once per turn. You detach a material from this card, special summon 1 dragon-type monster from your deck, but make its attack and defense 0, and it can't declare an attack this turn. This card can't. So there's a lot of cool plays you can do with this, being able to grab, say, Red MD out of your deck, and then if you have like a Flameveil Guard in grave, use the Red MD, summon the Flameveil Guard, and then synchro into a Star Eater that you'll see here in a minute. Or, for example, bring back one of your Hieratics and then tribute it for one of your other Hieratics, get an additional summon, and be able to keep comboing. This card just does everything for the deck, and so 2 is completely necessary. For the synchros, 1 Star Eater, because it's just so easy to make with so many different combinations of cards, whether that's, your Labradorite plus a level 5 Hieratic, or, your Red MD that I just mentioned. 1 Crimson Blader, 1 Scrap Dragon, 1 Colossal Fighter because of the skill drains. That's just a really good card under that. 1 copy of Stardust Dragon, and for your 7, the Black Rose. So that is it for this deck profile. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and if you did, you'll drop a like on this video. Comment any questions you have or videos you'd like to see in the future. Share this video with your friends, all that good stuff. I have so much more planned. And anyways, guys, I will see you in the next video.